Hey, how are you? This is Nick Lynn with Revere Real Estate. Today we're going to be discussing from acquisition to completion, the 4 stages in between on a residential real estate development project. Here we go. Stage 1 is going to be acquisition. In stage 1, we're going to be talking about acquiring the property, doing the due diligence necessary for the property, making sure you understand the current conditions of what you could build, and then also having an awareness of what type of product you can build at after repair value. We'll get into that. Stage 2 is going to be pre-development. In pre-development, we'll get into all of the different trades that you need to get involved, the architect, the civil, and we'll get into more detail on that. Stage 3 is going to be the actual construction of the project, the hammer and the nails, getting everything built so that we could get to the last stage, which is stage 4. Stage 4 is completion of the project. You've completed the whole project, you've done all the hard work, now the fun part begins. Selling the property and understand what your time and what your energy was worth. So let's get into it. In stage 1, we've got the acquisition of the property. So you're thinking to yourself, a broker calls you, you're driving the streets, you see a property that's for sale. Maybe it's not for sale, maybe it's a pocket listing and you got lucky. We'll get into that in another video. Property's for sale. You got to understand and assess and evaluate what that property is worth. What is the property worth? How do we go about addressing the value of the structure so that you don't overpay? It's been told by many mentors, the profit and the build on a project is earned at the buy, not the sale. So it's imperative that you do the acquisition stage properly. So stage 1 of acquisition, it's going to be imperative that you get in contact with a professional in that particular submarket. What's the submarket? People are familiar with New York City as boroughs, right? You have Manhattan, you have Midtown, you have the Bronx, you have all of these different areas operate and are priced relative to that particular submarket. So once you've got a specialist or an expert in that submarket, you're going to want to get in contact with them and see what this property is really worth. May even recommend you get an independent appraiser to come out and appraise and value what the property is worth. Even if it's a raw piece of land, there's still a value associated with that property. So once you've done that, you're going to want to call up your city that you're building in, and you're going to want to say, I'm evaluating, I'm doing my due diligence because I like to do everything the best that I can. I'd like to know, if I were to purchase this property, what can I build? Right? Let's assume that we're doing a ground-up new construction. This is not a fix or flip. This is a ground-up residential real estate development project. What can I build? They may give you an answer. They may say, you can build 50% of the lot size. You go back to your property, you look at the specifications, you say, this is a 10,000 square foot lot, so I can build a 5,000 square foot home. Now, the necessary material that you acquired from the city is going to allow you to do the last part of stage 1 in acquisition, which is trying to figure out what the after repair value is, ARV, of the property. For example, go into that submarket, look for, in the aforementioned example, look for other 5,000 square foot homes that have recently sold in that area. Talk to your expert, talk to your submarket professional and say, what is a property, new construction at 5,000 square feet? What's that selling for in this area? Because that's going to be imperative later on in the steps. Now we get into, we've discussed stage 1, the acquisition. Now we get into pre-development, which is stage 2. So in stage 2, we're going to talk about this pre-development. What is pre-development? Well, as the name suggests, it's what's before the development stage. So when we get into construction, which is stage 3, which we'll get into next, we want to stay and make sure that we have all of our deliverables set up so that we can get to the latter stage. So in order to produce all of the material that you need to go to get to the city building department, our goal in stage 2, the number 1 objective is to acquire the permits so that we can continue the project and continue to build the project. So when we do that, and hopefully doing it in a very timeful manner, Very common for cities to drag out. So in stage 2, in pre-development, you're going to want to get a surveyor to shoot the property, right? So they're going to be able to address what the property lines are, they're going to do a boundary survey, and they're going to do a property survey. The boundary and topography survey and property surveys, there's different nuances to each. We won't get into those into too much detail, but essentially it's important to understand what you're working with. This is going to be essentially your canvas. Now we take this canvas and we bring it to an architect. We say, Mr. or Mrs. Architect, we're allowed to build this. Again, going back to the example, we're allowed to build this 5,000 square foot home. Here's the property, here's the topography survey. Help us out. They're going to give you a price. We're going to talk about bids in another video, but they're going to give you a price. That architect is going to be able to start in the pre-development by getting a floor plan schedule put together, and then overall layout, elevation plans, what the property is going to look like aesthetically and also in functionality with the different bedroom locations and that sort of thing. Definitely advise that you listen to your architect. They're the experts in that field. Your aim is to do the A to Z and not get too much in the minutia of the architect. Let them lead the way. That's our recommendation. The architect, speaking of which, may be able to refer you to a good civil engineer and a good structural engineer. Civil engineer is going to do all the groundwork and all of the underground work. The structural engineer is going to take all of the structural components from the architect, and when you go to the city, they're going to be able to tell you that the structural integrity of the property is intact, and those areas get into a lot of detail, but those are the general of those areas. And once we have all of those completed, we take it to the city. We're also going to need to pay impact fees. There's a lot of fees when you draw permits. Advise you to take a look at what your city's fee structures are, whether it's traffic impact fees, if you're going to be multiplying the density of the property that you're currently have just now acquired through stage 1, and what that's all going to cost. So that's stage 2. Now we're on stage 3. Stage 3 is going to be the construction of the project. This is the fun part. This is where you have the hammer and nails. This is when you get all the subcontractors out, and this is when when everything is going to start to get erected. So you got to get all of your different trades in order, and you got to make sure that the budget is appropriately priced. So those are the components of stage 3. The different trades. You've got your framer, you've got your foundation, you've got your underground, you got your rough plumbing, rough electrical, rough heating and air conditioning. You got your wood flooring, you got your windows and doors, you got your casework, your baseboards, you got your painters, you've got your landscaping, you've got it all in order, and we can actually share with you that order and that process. There's an order of operations that we recommend that you take a look at a different video on. But those are all the different trades. In addition, it's important to, like I said at the beginning of stage 3, it's important to understand the budget. The budget is most aptly defined as hard and soft costs. You may or may not have heard that. Hard and soft costs. In the industry, hard costs are the actual construction costs and the actual budget earmarked specifically for that purpose. The soft costs, that's where you've got your permits, that's where you've got your architect fees, and that's where you also have, if you're taking out a construction loan, your debt service to your lending institution. Very, very important. In the budget, we also want to give you one little tip. Make sure you put in some contingencies. What's contingencies? Contingencies are, it's very, very common that there are always going to be some changes, whether it's minute or whether it's unfortunately on a grand scale, there's always going to be some change orders. So please be sure to account for that. Okay, now once we've got acquisition, pre-development, we've built the project, what's our last stage? Stage 4 is completion. In stage 4, we get a realtor involved, we put it on the MLS, we market the property, very, very important. So that's what we'll discuss here in stage 4. So in stage 4, when we complete the project, we're already done. Most all of our time, value, money, effort has all been done, and now we're ready to sell this puppy off. Get to that broker. get to that real estate sub-market professional that you started with. Or hopefully you've done your due diligence and you've been having and connecting, you've been having meetings and you've been connecting with local professionals in the area. You're gonna wanna take this thing to market. So what happens is that when you link up with a real estate licensed professional, they're able to put the property on the MLS. That listing service is going to be able to spread the word. Let everybody know that this property is for sale. In order to most aptly bring this property to market, you want to do a few marketing focuses as well. Whether it's in newspaper advertisements or whether it's on the internet and you have it blasted out on all the social media platforms. There's a lot of different ways. It's been wonderful to see the evolution of the technology in this stage of the process. Now we've got drone images coming in. It's showing the overall layout from hundreds of feet up in the air and zooming into the, it's really, really an awesome thing. We do not underestimate the significance of the marketing and media attention required to successfully exit a project. So back to the realtor. We get this realtor involved, you sign a listing agreement, whether it's there's a lot of different styles of listing agreements. Make sure you understand and best know how to appropriately set up a listing agreement with the realtor. That's where their compensation is identified. That's where exclusive or non-exclusive rights are specified. Make sure you pay attention to that. Typically right now, it's anywhere from 2 to 2.5 to 3% on the buy side, and similarly on the sale side that gets sent out to the listing broker or the buyer's agent, or if the person is taking both sides of the transaction. So we've gone through all of those stages. We're going to exit the project. Somebody comes in, you have open houses, you're gonna put media attention and marketing attention to this property. Now we're completed. Property is sold. Congratulations. So let me just recap quickly. Recap of the 4 stages of residential real estate development. Acquisition, stage 1. Pre-development, stage 2. Construction of the project, stage 3. And 4, conclusion or completion of your project. Hopefully you found this helpful. Hopefully there's been some valuable tidbits. I do know that this is a very detail-oriented A to Z process. Contact us. You can visit us at Revere, R-E-V-E-R-E, realestateco.com, and you can reach out to us, schedule a phone appointment or schedule an appointment in person. But we'd love to share our experience with you. We'd love to walk you through as we document our construction projects. Currently, we're building 7 properties here in Southern California, both in Orange County and in Los Angeles County. Thank you very much. Make sure to let us know what you thought. Leave a comment below, like and subscribe to our channel.